Hello Leos, welcome to your Plant Spirit Oracle reading for the month of May. The tip of the top. I don't know what that was. Where we have a look at the energy coming at you, Leos, for the rest of the month. We are reading the Seed and Sickle Oracle deck, which is one of my absolute favourite Plant Spirit Oracle decks to work with. I adore it. And we are taking a dawn reading for the new, the growth, the beginnings. And if you'd like to see more about this deck, there's a video available right now here on YouTube, and you can see the whole thing, and I love it. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favourite decks of all time. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful things for beautiful, beautiful Leos. So we are having a look at what the energies contain for the month of May, and you will receive Rowan. Ooh, you're the second tree in a row. So this is actually the second Ogham. Cancerians received the first, and yet the cards are quite separate. So in this deck, Silver Birch is number 1, so it is into the spring section. Rowan is number 21, which is a whole cycle away from that, so that's really interesting, and is in the summer section. So with it being in the summer section, that's going to define some of the energies that we're looking at, things coming into bloom, things growing for you. That's how we sort of tap in a little bit. Let's see what it says here for you guys. Rowan trees are seen as a symbol of tenacity, capable of growing the tiniest crevices in cliff sides and rocks. You've been doing a lot of the same recently, growing well in spite of uncertain ground that you have had to stand on, and your determination will pay off once you realise you've got an advantage over those who've had an easier path. It's easy to envy others for thriving, but give yourself credit for having thrived in adversity. Wee, Leo, that's a mouthful. Okay, so like I said, Rowan is the second of the Ogham, known as Louis, in the Celtic tree calendar, which is a modern invention. It rolls over the second month. Its powers are healing, success, power, protection, and psychic intuition. The magical Rowan, a white-flowered fairy tree sacred for the ancient druid cults of Lusula, delight of the eye, and for Louis, the quicken tree is the second ruler in the Ogham tree calendar. The name Rowan may have been passed down from the Old Norse, meaning runa, which means charm, or the Swedish rune, which is red. As well as being known as the mountain ash, its folk names are many and varied: quicken tree, quickbane, sawbapple, witchen wood, rune tree, witchbane, and a witchy tree, just for a few of those names. The botanical name is Sorbus acciparia, which is interesting because acciparia shows the tree has fruit, which can be used by the accubes or bird catcher to bait his traps. The tree is widespread in Europe, China, and Russia, growing in wild places where soil might be slightly peaty and acidic, the rocks and streams of the high moors and mountains. It's true native in the rocky habitats of Wales and Scotland, and can withstand poor soil and icy temperatures. The Rowan loves light and space, as it is a fairly small, light, short-lived tree, not reaching much above 15 metres. It doesn't grow in the woodlands or forests where it would be overshadowed by oaks or pines. As a wonderfully vivid, colourful small tree, it is a popular choice for modern urban settings. In many parts of Europe, they are still commonly found around the ruins of ancient settlements and stone circles. Love that for you guys. Liminal spaces, beautiful things to remember, sacredness. Were they deliberately planted as magical protection, or was it that stone circles and cairns were so often in high deserted habitats that Rowan likes best? The answer is unknown. The Rowan is loved for its pretty creamy white flowers in May. So beautiful, perfect, aligns really well for you. Connect to this tree, Leos. Whose sweet scent attracts plenty of bees and pollinating insects. Its deciduous leaves are very much like those of the ash. Leaflets paired on a long central stem, which turn red in late autumn. Large bunches of brilliant, bright red or orange berries hang from late August, contrasting the deep green of the leaves. They can be made into delicious jelly, often mixed with apple or crabapple, which goes very well with game birds such as pheasant or partridge, or in with rabbit pies or venison, should you be into that. The fruits are definitely coveted by the birds. The strong, dense light wood is prized by contemporary wood carvers and turners for its fine grain and is often crafted into bowls, platters, and stamped cups. Traditional wood for spinning wheels, large pegs, pins to fasten spindles, and makes a fine walking stick. As is usual with fruits, the scarlet rowan berries are high in vitamin C. They contain sorbic acid, making them astringent, and should normally be boiled and then strained before use, as eating the berries raw can cause upset stomachs. The berries are best prepared into jellies or syrups where the pulp and seed are strained, as the seeds and possibly the leaves are known to contain some toxic properties. Fresh juice from the berries, another preparation free from seeds, is used to gargle as well as a mild laxative. Both jelly and syrup were prepared in the past and used for gout. The tree is mentioned in John Gerard's 1597 herbal. He calls it the quicken tree. Good at stopping pain of the liver. Let's go down to magic, please. Named in Celtic Fidnadrud, or the wizard tree, the rowan was known to be sacred in many cultures, governed by the Celtic gods Lugh, Dagda and Brigid, by the Welsh Ceridwen, as well as the Norse god Thor and the Germanic Hecate. Known as the quicken tree, the tree of life with its scarlet berries were like living drops of blood, proof the ancestors of its life force was believed to have mighty powers of protection. The Celtic druids were thought to have made frames to dry the skins of sacrifices from rowan branches. Jammy, lovely, yum. And to use strong twigs to divine for metals in the same way as hazel was used to divine for water. In Ireland, Brigid, the young and blooming aspect of the triple goddess, apparently made her bows from rowan wood. That has been debated as to whether that's true or not. One Norse legend associates rowan with the god Thor. Thor proceeded to the river named Vimur, greatest of all rivers. He girded himself with the girdle of might, embraced downstream with the rod, and Loki held on behind the girdle of might. When Thor came to midstream, the river waxed greatly and broke high upon his shoulders. Then Thor sang this: "Wax thou not, Vimur, for I fain would wade thee into giant's girth. Know thou, if thou waxest, then waxeth God's strength in me as high as heaven." Then Thor saw Drape, daughter of Geirrödr, standing in the river ravines, one leg spanning the river, and she was causing the spate. Then Thor snatched up the great stones of the river, casting at her at the source should a river be stemmed, nor did he miss that which he threw. In that moment he came to shore and took hold of a rowan clump and climbed out of the river. Whence comes the saying that rowan is Thor's deliverance. Okay, let's move down a little bit. The Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford has 2 protective rowan crosses on displays, donated in 1893 but dating from much earlier, coming from Scotland. Their records say that supposedly the sacred shape of the cross enhances the protective power of the rowan tree itself, and the amulet was put on the opening of the house to keep witches out. In spite of it being the tree of life and quickening, it was thought that the spike of rowan could be driven into a corpse to keep the soul from walking. No zombies for you. The tiny 5-pointed pentacle at the base of each berry was considered of magical importance. Many cottagers had rowan growing out of it nearby as protection against the evil eye. It was recognised as a bad omen to uproot it. With so many other a sacred tree, it was also believed to be safeguard against lightning and fire. So making the little charm is one of the famous things to do, and at Beltane ensure that rowan wood is available as one of the 9 woods of the Midsummer Fire. So there you go. That's also available, by the way, right now on Patreon as part of the free magazine Foxtail, which is available to everybody in the first edition over on Patreon, and talks all about the 9 ladies of the wood, the 9 woods of the Beltane Fire. So if you want to hear more about that, you can just hop on over to any tier on Patreon right now, and you can read that for free over there. That's fabulous. So, rowan tree, what are we looking at, Leo? A whole lot of folklore again, a whole lot. To me, in my personal gnosis, rowan has been a big part of my life, a big witchy part of my life. It's so helpful, it's so magical. It's also known in the mythology to not only be a safeguard against magical attack, but also to warn people that magic is afoot and it might be malicious. So for you guys, it's been talking about overcoming and thriving and stepping into your power and really owning that. And the fact that the red thread is here in this card is indicative of something. You are protected on an astral, spiritual level. What I am feeling for Leos this month of May, which is a cluster mother of astrology, is that you need to lean heavy on your ancestors, on your spirits, on your belief that you are wanted and needed and protected, Leos. So look into your moon and rising for other indications of where this may be coming from, but I feel like you may have had bravado in the past with regards to your worth. You may show up and tell everybody what you're worth and speak the words, but underneath, somewhere, there's a pain of feeling disconnected, of not feeling as if you are worth it, not maybe feeling magical, not feeling enough in your skin. And there is a need to pull back, get back to something simpler, maybe perform simple acts of magic if that's your jam, and really connect into what roots you, what grounds you, what makes you feel safe and secure. Because that's not normally something people are going to say to Leos, they pretend like you're always on stage and you're always the center of attention and you're fine. But what happens when you're not? What happens when you need healing? What happens when you need time out, time for yourself, grounding? What happens then? Just because you're a fire sign doesn't mean that you don't need this TLC. And Rowan is right there saying you've got it all at your fingertips, my darling. You might not have had an easy time of it lately. You might be looking at other people thinking, I wish I'd had the easier road that they've had. But that's not going to have stood you in good stead. Those people are going to be first off the farm. They're going to be uprooted and falling over if things get tough, and you are not, because you have paved the way for your success. So really feel into that this month, Leos. Really believe in yourself. Perform a little acts of magic and you'll be all the better for it. Have an absolutely wonderful May. And if you would like to hear more, head on over to Patreon, where we have a big reading at the beginning of each month for the astrological insights, making a star map of all the nonsense coming our way astrologically for May and how to navigate that best, as well as a weekly reading of tarot and oracle to help us week to week get through it all together. All right. Thank you for listening. Many blessings, and I'll talk to you all very soon.